he's a Bo Ryan disciple, came up through the assistant tree with him. But, yeah, this is a game where, if you can make the Elite Eight in your first year when you started as an interim head coach, that's a big statement about where you can take this program long term. And, I think, we all can agree if Wisconsin, regardless of which two of these teams advance, they're going to be the underdog on Sunday against Indiana or North Carolina. But, you're one game away from a Final Four. You're one hot shooting night from Nigel Hayes away from going to Houston, which is just astounding. And, for Wisconsin, that would be 3 Final Fours in a row, which is crazy to think about given all the roster turnover. But, yeah, this is a big opportunity for him to lay his stamp and really, I think, start building his program how he wants to.
Well, and what do you think he wants to do? I mean, have you seen anything different from Wisconsin from, last year's Bo Ryan team to the current Wisconsin team here? Are there any discernible differences in how they play?
Well, I think the early thing, he's kind of gotten away from it a little bit here late, but they really went back to kind of the roots of that swing offense. I know everybody talks about how that's what Wisconsin is known for, but they had a lot of ISO action last year, and to no surprise, when you have Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker, you're going to do that. But they really got back to those roots, and I think that's going to help. And, Gard has been credited for a lot of the recruiting success over the last couple of years, bringing in guys like Kaminsky. So I think, maybe he changes it up on the recruiting trail as well, goes for a little more athletic guys. We'll see, obviously. But, if he gets a win here, it'll certainly help him on the recruiting trail, that's for sure.
Gonzaga and Syracuse is a pretty compelling game here. This is a 9:40 Eastern tip tonight, Midwest region in Chicago. Obviously the big story here is going to be Gonzaga's bigs against that Syracuse zone. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, from a bird's eye lens here, I think, Gonzaga's front court really talented, and I think I'm really interested. Obviously Syracuse had a lot of criticism coming into the tournament, whether they deserve to be there or not. They find themselves in the Sweet 16, but, this is a big chance for Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is a better team. I think they're going to move on. And, talk about a nice road to the Elite Eight here with Syracuse. And I'm not sure beyond that. Things will get really tough with either Virginia or Iowa State, but I like Gonzaga tonight.
Have you seen anything from Syracuse? Obviously they got very, very fortunate to avoid Michigan State in probably the most stunning upset in tournament history. Have you seen anything from Syracuse that makes you think that they can play with Gonzaga here in this game?
I certainly think they can play with them. I don't expect a blowout or anything. Syracuse, they've beaten some good teams this year. They've beaten UConn, they've beaten Texas A&M. They beat Notre Dame. We were just talking about the Irish, but I really think it's the draw. They got to play Middle Tennessee, which I understand. Maybe they were a little bit better than a typical 15 seed. They did beat Michigan State, but they're still a 15 seed. And I think Syracuse just got lucky in that matchup. And Jim Boeheim, clearly a great coach. Maybe he'll have something ready for Gonzaga, but I really like Gonzaga in this game, and certainly if Syracuse did find a way, they'd be a massive underdog in the Elite Eight game.
So UNC and Indiana, 2 blue blood programs here playing the late tip tonight in Philadelphia. This is going to be a fun game if you like offense.
Certainly, yeah. This is going to be I'm really excited. This is the game I'm most excited for tonight. You have an Indiana team that's just using its freshmen. It's finding contributors, role players. The bench has been huge. And then you have a North Carolina team that's just uber talented. The front court with Bryce Johnson, Kennedy Meeks is just incredible. As far as who's going to come out on top in this game, I really, the matchup has to be in the front court. When you're talking about, North Carolina, a team who They don't shoot the three well really at all. They're a team driven by their play up front. It's going to be, can Max Biefeld, can Thomas Bryant, can Anunoby, can they match up with North Carolina inside and at least slow them down or at least avoid getting into foul trouble? If they can do that, I think they absolutely have a chance in this game. And I say that because I like Indiana's backcourt better than I like North Carolina's. I know Marcus Page, and, North Carolina has a lot of talent there, but I think Indiana's been more consistent. I think they have a more diverse offensive game. We'll see how it unfolds, obviously, but I think it's going to come down to, what happens up front. Can Indiana slow them down? If they can, I think they have a really good chance in this game. If they get pulverized and get into foul trouble, I think it could be a long night in Bloomington.
Hoosiers a 5-point dog tonight. And people are going to point to that Kentucky game. And, I was pretty surprised, honestly, that Indiana played the way that they did against Kentucky. But what Kentucky has in athleticism is pretty similar to what North Carolina has in athleticism. The difference is North Carolina's athletic players are they're so much more polished than Kentucky's, because Kentucky lost so much from last year.
Yeah, certainly. And the thing, too, is that, Kentucky relied a lot on Tyler Ulis, and they relied a lot on Murray. They were obviously both guards, both backcourt guys. And in Indiana, the big difference for them is just their defense has developed so much over the season. And again, I'm interested to see if they're going to try a couple different looks on Friday. Crean has had a preference of potentially cross-matching guys once in a while to kind of disrupt another team's main guy. We'll have to see how that happens. North Carolina is obviously massive, so I'm not sure how much of an option that is today, considering Yogi Ferrell's pretty much a relatively small guard. But I think, North Carolina, they're just loaded up front. These are guys with a lot of experience. You're talking about a lot, 2 seniors, and I think it'll be interesting. Indiana has experience up front. North Carolina has experience. I hate to just keep saying it's going to come down to the front court, but I think that's really how it's going to come down to, unless one of these teams just goes off from 3.
So I want to take a look here at the Big Ten as a whole and sort of evaluate, the conference's performance. And obviously, the jury is still out because they still have a shot at getting 2 teams in the Elite 8, which would be, fantastic. And I mean, because I think Virginia beats Iowa State tonight, that would be up there with the Big 12, who has Kansas and Oklahoma in there. The Big 12 also with 3 Sweet 16 teams, same as the Big 10. So, in terms of conference superiority here, you kind of look at the Big 10 and the Big 12 and sort of compare those two side by side. Overall here, I think it's difficult to grade the Big 10 in March Madness because Michigan State was such a heavy hitter and they wind up getting upset in the first round. But does that Michigan State upset really, just leave a negative picture for the Big Ten and the tournament as a whole?
Well, I definitely would agree with that. I mean, when you have your Big Ten tournament champion, your most likely team to advance to the Final Four and win the championship, them going down in the first round in a historic upset certainly doesn't put a positive spin on things. But so I'm one of the people, I like to step back and look at the overall picture, because I think the first thing, a lot of people like to base, the big stat this week has been, well, the ACC has 6 teams in the Sweet 16. So the implication, they're the best conference ever, they're unstoppable. But I think you have to look at how they did it. And the other factor as well is, for most of these conferences, half or more of the conference is not in the NCAA tournament. They might be in the NIT, they might be in the CBI, they might not be in the postseason at all. For the Big Ten, I think they are certainly a notch behind the Big 12 and the ACC. But I think, if you can get a team to the Final Four, at least in contention there, to win it all, I think it'll be a good season. The conference, they led the nation in most NCAA tournament bids, or they were second. Sorry, excuse me. So I think you have to feel pretty good about things. If you had Michigan State in this, I think you feel a lot better. But certainly it was disappointing to see the Spartans go down, and we'll have to see, if Indiana or Wisconsin can get there. But I do think, again, that they're a notch behind the ACC and Big 12. But overall, I still think a relatively good year for the conference.
It's just been tough. Michigan technically won a game in the NCAA tournament because they won that play-in game, and then they weren't able to get past Notre Dame. And then Purdue, that's just one of those cases where Purdue just didn't finish that game off at the end, and they really should have. You got to give credit to Arkansas Little Rock in that situation, but that's not a game that Purdue should lose. And then Iowa running into Villanova, like you said. Villanova is just on another level right now. So the Big Ten, while the conference didn't do itself any favors, you still have a live Indiana team here that knocked off a premier program in Kentucky with a shot to knock off another premier program in North Carolina. You've got Wisconsin, who wasn't supposed to be here but is. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I don't think that you can really give a full answer one way or another.
Yeah, I'd agree. And the big thing, as we're talking, who knows? In 24 hours or 12 hours or so, the Big Ten could have two teams in the Elite Eight, a guaranteed team in the Final Four. And, it's hard to speculate too far out. We don't know who's going to make the Elite Eight. We certainly don't know who's going to make the Final Four. But if Indiana takes down UNC, I certainly think they have the capability to make it to the title game. And I say that because, they're going to be favored against Wisconsin. I think Virginia, Iowa State, both of those teams have vulnerabilities. As we talked about, Gonzaga, Syracuse, they kind of are the shockers in the Sweet 16. So I think, you could very easily see a team getting into the title game. And speculating beyond that, again, we're getting kind of out there. But you'd feel a lot better about the conference if suddenly, now you have a title game participant. So still a lot of games, still a lot of game time to be played. But, it is kind of a mixed picture, and we'll kind of see how it turns out.
Last thing I ask about here is Ohio State's second-round exit in the NIT. They beat Akron at home in what was expected to be a very difficult spot for the Buckeyes because, Akron, obviously a lot of guys that are very familiar with Ohio State or maybe were recruited by the Buckeyes or weren't recruited by the Buckeyes. So the Zips had a ton of motivation in that one. But then Ohio State loses at home in the second round to higher-seeded Florida, who couldn't play at home with some arena construction going on. So with the way that things ended for Ohio State, and of course with Jayshawn Tate being out, that was a big factor in what happened to them in the NIT. Is that a team that you see maybe taking a step forward next year, or are they going to continue to hover in mediocrity?
They're going to be one of the more interesting teams in this offseason. And the reason I say that is because, generally speaking, everything is coming back, from this year. Barring a transfer, we'll see what happens. But, everything's going to come back, and they are one of the youngest teams in the country. So, from a general standpoint, you expect, youth to get better. You expect if you're bringing back all these people, you're going to improve. And, just from a look back on this season, they were playing much, much better at the end of the year, before Jayshawn Tate went down, obviously, than they were at the beginning of the year. A lot of the losses that kept them out of the NCAA tournament were the ones that happened in November and December and January. So, if you took the team at the end of the year and put them through the whole season, maybe they're on that bubble, maybe they have a chance. But, the big concern, though, is this is a team that they didn't have a lot of star power this year. Jayshawn Tate was a really nice contributor. He wasn't an all Big Ten type of player, or at least, first, second team. And I think if you're going to be a real contender, you have to have two or three of those guys in that conversation. And I'm not sure. Jaquan Lyle maybe, Jayshawn Tate maybe. We'll see. Maybe Keita Bates-Diop gets into there. But until we kind of see those guys take that next step, you have to have some hesitation, even with all the guys coming back. So we'll see how it shakes out. But as of now, I think they'll get better. I'm just not sure if they can crack into that Big Ten title contender type of group.
Thomas Beindit, a lot of excellent stuff from you. As I said at the top of the segment, you're from BTPowerhouse, the SB Nation home of the Big Ten. What's going on over there today and then throughout the weekend?
Yeah, we have a lot of coverage. You know, we'll see what happens this weekend, depending on if Wisconsin or Indiana moves on. But